vibe with me. That's all I can ask. So, there's a few things I have on my mind, and I'm going to talk about it. So, first and foremost, I know I put out there into the universe and to you guys that I was going to be doing episodes, Tati's sunset episodes by the river, etc. And that hasn't quite been happening the way I expected it to. And I noticed that when you put things out into the universe, it fucks with the energy. You know, whether you want to admit it or not, I guess. I don't know. But it fucks with the energy. And it could be people, it could be the timing, it could be a lot of things. It could be the way the stars are lined up, the planets is lined up, blah, 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 blah. But this is why I keep a lot of things to myself, because things just don't be happening. However, it has pushed me to, it's out there already, and it's going to happen regardless. But it's pushed me to be more focused and more practical. Yes, practical about it. I did have a certain expectation on the day, and in hindsight, the day of me doing the Tati episodes really is not conducive to my overall well-being. And I had my reasons for choosing that day. However, things have changed because things are forever changing, right? Right. Now, my second topic that I want to speak on is my experience in living in Thailand. I'm going to speak on my experience in general, and then I will, of course, get to race. It's inevitable. Like, this is chocolate, and it matters. It matters. There's an experience, and I'm going to share my experience. So, firstly, I came here, I moved here for the overall well-being of not only myself, but my children. I'll get into the story another time about the repressed trauma that resurfaced, my repressed trauma that resurfaced beginning in 2021. Everything kicked off in 2020, yes? We can all agree for that. But because I chose to delve very deeply into what it is that I was going through, given the allotted time that was given to everyone on this planet, apparently, in 2020, once 2021 hit, I started facing harsh truths. And I'm forever grateful for that, because I just started, basically I was stepping into who I truly was, and the repressed traumas were resurfacing. And that came along with me making the decision to cut my family off, and that gave me time to focus on me. My family became persons of three. It was just me and my children. And I was actually happy about that. However, due to the repressed traumas, the harsh truth that came along with that when it comes to me being a mother, a parent, a woman, I had to face harsh truths within that, and how I was showing up as a mother, as a woman, as a parent, all of my children's lives. And that came along with low vibrational emotions that I had to process, like really process, and come to an acceptance of these emotions so that I can find a way to release them. And I found that the way that I needed to release them was to actually face it head on and make immediate changes. And those changes were a bit uncomfortable. I won't say that they were like entirely uncomfortable, because my love for my children, my love for myself, my love for my inner child, honestly, is so immense. It's so immense. Therefore, the love I have for myself, that I work on in the present, well, I was working on in the present moments in the past, during that time, allowed me to make the immediate changes that I needed to make in order to build the type of relationship that I know that my children deserve, I deserve with them, and the future that I can see for all of us. Now, because of how, at times, because of how my son would respond to my changes, it let me know how blinded, unaware I was of how I was showing up for him specifically. And it's crazy. And I'm still working on forgiving, or rather, I've forgiven myself, but I'm working on letting it go, because it still pops up in my mind time to time, especially when things are heightened, like emotions are heightened. I'm still parenting, and the past creeps back up. I had to make some tough decisions in 2020, 2021. From 2020 until now, I've had to repeatedly make the most toughest decisions that I've ever made in my entire life. And I'm okay with that. However, it's pretty triggering at times, if not most, because there's not the type of understanding that I would like to be had outside of myself is not happening. And I do understand that that's not my responsibility. Like, I don't need for other people to understand. However, I do. So I'm working on that. And it's not other people other than my children. It's my children. More so, I can speak on my son, because I have a 20-year-old, and she's an adult. I can't say that I'm not raising her. I mean, I don't really know. Like, this is my first time with a 20-year-old, so like, I know you never stop parenting, so to speak. You never stop being a mother. I'm still trying to figure that out. However, I've pulled back because she is an adult, and there's things that, she has to live life, but I'm always here for the support in whichever way I can show up for her. I'm here, Now my son, he's 16, and although he is a young adult, he's a young man. That is the case. I won't say it's an issue, but he's smelling himself a little bit, you know, and rightfully so. I'm gonna be very straightforward. He has every right to smell himself because it's his life. It's okay. When it's happening, when I'm aware of it, I just have a conversation with him like, yo, you know, you need to chill, and we discuss what's happening and the misunderstandings and how he views things, or the current situation rather, and I listen to understand. I truly, like, that's my goal. I listen to understand because I don't know what it's like to be a 16-year-old boy, let alone a 16-year-old black boy with a mother like me. I don't know how that is. I can only be present in the moment and allow for him to allow me in his reality through conversations and experiences and things like that. Because, you know, there's levels to teenagers smelling themselves, and they could completely shut you out, shut you down, shut you out, and forget all the years that you were actually, you know, present. Like, it could go left real quick, you know. I was 16, and I don't know what else to say about that, but yes. So going back to the me deciding to move here. So I made the changes, yes, and then I apologize. I made the changes, and then there was still, you know, a lot of heavy energies because things were just happening, things were changing, and I was flowing with it as much as possible. But the number one issue that was really eating at me was the fact that it was known that my daughter was suffering from depression. And I just recently found out that during that time, not only was she suffering from depression, but now I can identify myself in the past as a functional depressive person. Yes, I was very functional. Now that I have more knowledge, and I taught myself how to be a functional depressive individual, which is pretty crazy. Yeah. And so I didn't, the only so because I was depressed, oh my gosh, because I was depressed myself, I was actually angry that I had to be functional at that time, because what I really wanted, I wanted for someone to actually be able to see that I was depressed, but I could see that my child was depressed. And through recent conversations with my son, I didn't know that, I found out that he was actually depressed as well. And I wasn't surprised. It made me sad, because we were all depressed. He's always been a very sociable person. And I took him out of the education system and began homeschooling him and his sister. And he really rebelled when it came to that. And he was depressed. We were all depressed. We were trying our best, and It's just heavy. It's heavy. Now, I can say that I truly did my best. I was going through a lot. Like, I don't feel the need that I have to explain what, like, give a reason to why I was trying to do the reasons to as to how I was doing my best. However, like, I want to, just to give a little context. I was going through what I call fake eviction. Like, how many people could actually pay their rent if they weren't able to work. After a certain amount of time, I just wasn't able to work because I was terminated because I chose not to get the vaccine. And I had to choose, like many other people, I had to choose between eating or paying my bills. And I chose to eat. And I ate great. We ate great. Like, I was making the least I could do in that time when it came to nourishing our vessels was to make sure that I was shopping at the highest quality that I could so that we could be nourished properly, because I knew that our mentals were vulnerable. I knew that everything was just vulnerable. It was a vulnerable time. And I was making sacrifices as to shopping at Whole Foods because, it's so much fake food around. Like, oh my gosh. Anyway, I digress. So, so we were all depressed. And the only way that I knew at the time how to show up for my daughter, no, I can't say the only way. I was trying to show up for her. I was trying to show up for her by being supportive in the aspects of what I know could be done, because I was in the midst of making sure that I keep myself as grounded as possible. And I know that sunlight helps. Making sure you eat the proper foods as much as you can. Hydration, some type of physical activity. I was incorporating all of that into my life slowly yet surely. And I was very consistent. And I wanted her to participate with me in doing so, but she was, depression is different for everyone, clearly. And she was at a state in which she wasn't there. She didn't have it to, she didn't have it to begin. She didn't have it to begin. So where I knew she could begin, I just started there with her. And the biggest thing that I could do was to actually put her in therapy. She was in online therapy sessions, and she enjoyed it, actually. However, I am not against therapy. What I am against is my intuition will tell me if someone, okay, let me backtrack just a little bit. Stay with me. You have light workers in every industry on this planet. Light workers. If you know, you know. And those numbers are increasing. So the light workers, I pray in the most darkest industries that I would have to deal with within this matrix, that I come across the light workers, or the ones that are receptive to opening their heart space to actually be of service rather than just doing their job to get paid. And intuition told me that she had a therapist that was not of the light, so to speak, and was just going along with what she knew best, protocol, Okay, I'm gonna, you go into the medical system in any which way or form, they're looking to diagnose you. That is their main priority, because they will not be able to bill according to how they want to bill your insurance or bill you, so that they can get the highest cost possible. I mean, money runs everything. And I comprehend that. I just don't agree with it. So, like, everyone is quick to diagnose, but no one has an actual holistic solution before pumping pills into people. And that's what happened. And I knew that was going to happen. And she was 16, between the ages of 16 and 18 when this occurred. And she was in therapy on and off from the age of about 12. But then she stopped because my daughter has attachment issues. I won't say it. Yeah, she has her dealings with attachment, and if she like you, she gets used to you. Once things change, or she has an issue with changes, I would say. And when things change, she would have a hard time dealing with that. So in the past, when she was really young, preteen, early teens, she had a therapist that she really enjoyed, and that therapist left the facility and she didn't want to continue. So she stopped. And fast forward to when she began again, it was actually a black woman. She was locked, and we discussed that. Like, it's nice to see. While hoping that you have a sister that reflects you physically. My daughter is locked as well, and have an understanding, so to speak, have a deeper understanding on what's going on with her patient. However, I won't say that wasn't the case entirely, but she was a part of the systematic structure. She diagnosed her quickly, and my daughter went right along with it. And while this was happening, number one, I was grateful that my daughter was actually willing to have conversations with me about how her sessions were going. And I would give her my opinion, my motherly opinion, my womanly opinion, and tell her to just think about it, because I have insight, I have wisdom. And, I told her, I was like, she diagnosed you pretty quickly. And I don't think that, I think that that's just the agenda. And for me, that's an issue, because I know what's to come from that. And what came from that, as soon as my daughter turned 18, that woman prescribed her medication. Now, she actually brought up medication prior to her turning 18, but my daughter and I discussed that, and my daughter brought it to my attention. No, the therapist asked for me to participate in one of the sessions because I didn't know she was going to bring up medication, but that's what happened. And I told her, I was like, I personally am against medication until other things are tried. The human body has complete and utter ability to heal itself. And I have an understanding of depression. Which is why I'm actually grateful that I was able to. I figured if I was able to teach myself how to be a functional depressant until I gain the knowledge to get myself out of depression, then so fucking be it. That means that I'm fucking intelligent and I have complete and utter control of my mental illnesses, you know? And so when I did get a true understanding of being depressed, why can't I say this word, yo? Depressed. I started actively doing things. And so, okay, so I told her, I was like, well, I'm against medication until I know that she has tried everything humanly possible within her means to get herself to feel better, because what she was complaining about was she just didn't feel good. She didn't know what it was. And I know that it's just your body, your higher self is just tired. Your current self is tired of trying and pretending. Your higher self wants to be exposed, expressed, lived through, experience life. And in order to do that, you have to release, you have to let go, you have to accept, you have to love. You have to do a lot of things, and that is a journey. It's a journey. This life is a journey of self-love. And when you're not doing all that you need to do for yourself individually, it's not what everybody else is doing. It doesn't matter if it looks crazy, weird, psychotic. If what your soul is calling for you to do, be, feel, you need to do that, because you're going to be depressed. So my daughter had a very good understanding that I was against it. The therapist understood that too. She could not just prescribe medication because she was a minor and I was not allowing it. And my daughter, my daughter accepts, or she said that she accepted it, but of course she didn't agree with it, because she wanted to take the medication because she said she was tired of feeling the way that she was. And we had even the same further conversations about, well, you don't want to come out and actually take a 5 to 10 minute walk with me in the sunlight. And because she had severe anxiety, she would break down, have like an anxiety attack in the street. I mean, we lived in New York, we lived in Harlem, and that was completely understood because I was a functional depressive person, and I had anxiety, and I even learned how to control that as well. But it didn't feel good. I don't want to control it. I want to rid of it. And I understood that my environment was also contributing to making me sick. So if it was making me sick, it was making them sick too, you know? So she did it. So yes, her anxiety was so bad that she didn't want to go out. And when she did, she would have anxiety attacks, and I would have to come and get her or call her a cab so she can come home. She would break out into sweats. I mean, it was bad. And I noticed that I was becoming angry at times because she would, I'm like, we can do this early in the morning when nobody's outside, you know? And because it was just after COVID, there weren't a lot of people outside. And I'm like, it's perfect. We can actually walk to the park. We can walk around the park. There's nobody out there. And if there is, there's very few people out there. And we can just vibe and then walk back home. And then have your favorite breakfast. You know, like I was trying. And she was just like, no. And I had to accept that. It was hard, but I had to accept it. And, but she was trying in other areas in which she was lacking or didn't have the ability at the time to uplift herself and do better for herself. So it was cool. But as soon as she turned 18, that woman prescribed her the medication because she wanted to take it. And she was legally within her rights to do so, both of them. So, but then my daughter, she doesn't keep things from me. I mean, she'll keep it from me for some time until she works up enough courage to speak to me. And between then and now, that time has increasingly shortened, in which is proof of the healing. And she's a full-grown adult, so there's been a lot of healing. And yeah, so she was taking the medication, and she told me, and I was like, if it works for you, is it working for you? She said yes. And I was like, well, I'm happy that it's working for you. However, medication is just a Band-Aid. If you're not doing something within yourself, because life is going to life. And when life happens, when you're triggered and that medication is not helping in the way that you anticipated or expected for it to happen, and or you don't have access to the medication, what do you have to fall back on? And I left her to ponder on that. And lo and behold, I told her, I was like, we're leaving this country. And when we leave this country, we're not going to have access to that medication. Nor am I funding that. Because the overall reason, this is 360 now, I'm getting back to why I left. The overall reason for us leaving is not only for myself and just for us to leave, but this environment that we're living in is horrible, and it's actually contributing to why you want to take medication. It's actually, the environment is horrible. And I don't even believe, my son actually, he was like, why can't we just move to a different state? And I told him, I said, this overall country is what I know about this country, and the type of lifestyle that I want to cultivate, and I can see that we can have, is not here in this country. We have to leave, and we're going to leave. And that requires a lot of changes. So my daughter it came full circle. She had no choice but to figure out how she was going to live life without a crutch, without a pharmaceutical crutch. And I knew that it was going to work out, because you can't escape the sun here. And the sun within itself is healing, whether you like it or not, whether it's too hot. You cannot escape it. The quality of the food is so high vibrational. So whatever she chooses to eat, it's going to be of a higher frequency, because it's on a higher frequency. Just not having the type of noise pollution, it was going to decrease her anxiety. It was just a natural healer without her even having to try, so that she can actually just know how it feels to just live life without having to try to control what's happening to her. You know what I mean? Yeah. And also my son, he was so used to, for 14 years, he was a city kid. Both of them, they were city kids. They loved the city life. They loved the fast food. They loved everything that New York had to offer. They loved it. They loved that shit. But at the same time, it was making them sick. I spoke on another video. My son was assaulted, and I realized that the choices and friends that he had wasn't of quality, and you know how that is. It takes a while for children to learn those things. You have to, something smells amazing. You have to learn these things. And I know that I would have been going, because he's a social butterfly, I would have been going back and forth with him about, that's not your friend, that's not your friend. You need to watch this, because at this present moment, I'm doing that with him now. Um, my children are of higher consciousness, and they're star seeds, and people are not used to other people that are of higher consciousness. They're not. They expect for you to match energy, and a lot of that energy is low vibrational, and my children are not of that, and they're going to automatically be treated differently. They are treated differently. And because my son is a social butterfly, he sometimes is blinded by the fact that he just wants to be so social and have the ideal social life without knowing the repercussions of how people may see him, view him, and want to just use and suck and siphon his energy because they can use that for themselves. They don't know how to cultivate that for themselves. Anyway, so yes, I came here for the overall well-being of our health. I'm a seer. I was gifted and foresaw how we were going to heal. I didn't know. I just can feel it. And if you could feel it, if you could see it, it's in another timeline, and you just have to do the work to match match the vibration to get there, and I'm here. So now that I'm here, and I have done 2 years of the most beautifulest healing that I've ever done in my entire life. I am at a point now where I have the space and capacity to be social. And when I first came here, me and my partner used to speak about how now I'm in Chiang Mai, and it's a city in Thailand. It's very rural, although it's up and coming with many tourists, many foreigners, and many immigrants, which they call expats or Farang. I think those are white immigrants, I believe. White foreigners. I don't know if it's just white from any country. I don't know. So I've excuse me. Yes, I'm open to being social. And yeah, when we first came here, we didn't really believe that my partner didn't believe that there were a lot of black people here, specifically in Chiang Mai. And I was telling him, I'm like, nah, as within, so without. So if we're here, they're here too. They just are not as outgoing frequently as we are. So we're not going to necessarily run into them. Fast forward 2 years later, now that I'm more mobile, because I have a motorbike, I see we're everywhere. That's just how the planet is. We are literally everywhere. But I noticed that black people are just not receptive. And I can confirm this because I met an older black woman, and we were speaking about how, every time we were in agreement as to every time we see a black woman, or just a black person, I get excited. Yes, I want y'all to know, I get excited when I see my people. First of all, I'm in Southeast Asia. I get excited because we're here together. I don't know if you come from struggles. I don't know if you come from adversity, but just the mere fact that even if you came from just pure love, just the mere fact that we're not seen all over this planet, like we're not shown to be all over this planet. We're not shown to be together. We're not shown to be in places where you just wouldn't expect for us to be, such as this continent, Southeast Asia. However, I'm here to tell you, we're fucking here. And they're not receptive. You have a handful that are receptive, but they don't know how to follow through. Because people have their own, people got their own lives going on, rightfully so. But there's always that comparison aspect. Like no one just wants to connect, just for a genuine, connective, loving dynamic, platonically. Like it's just not, like we've been so isolated for so fucking long. Anyway, so that's been my experience. Like I am not as social as I probably would like to be, because what I notice is a lot of black people want like this community, but this community is not, they're gatekeeping this community, or if they're not gatekeeping the community, it's just like they're not really receptive. And I mean, if the vibe ain't there, the vibe ain't there. I get it. That's cool. And I'm mostly speaking on what I just spoke on. That's about black women. If the vibe is not there, the vibe is not there. They're not receptive, and nothing happens. Now, I see black men all the time. And that's another topic, because okay, what I've experienced, the black men that I see, a lot of them are African. And what I've noticed about Africans in general is there's a common behavior, or a common reaction when they when they speak to you. Some of them will have a conversation with you, but once they know that I'm from America, it's like they shut it down. I can't say it's like them shying away, but they shut it down. Now, the ones that do, I mean, whether they're shying away or shutting it down after it's known that I'm from America, some of them will speak, they'll just start projecting, and they'll just speak freely on the fact that, it's like, what are you doing here? What the fuck you mean what I'm doing here? Like, why are you here? Let's talk about that. Like, that's exchange real information. Why are you here? Like, are you surprised that possibly if we have a conversation, will you be surprised? Will your jaw hit the ground that I too faced adversity being an American? That I too face racism. I too face prejudice. I too face, I had my struggles, abuse, trauma, not a lack of funds. not being discriminated against, not being able to keep a job that I actually bust my ass to pay for and go to school for? Would it be so much of a shock that I went through what I went through as an American? Because a lot of them will say, what are you doing here? I want to be where you come from, but you're here. Or if I do share a story, it's like, and you decided to come here of all places. Yeah, I did. I think some of them are offended. Like, I don't know. I don't understand. Like, we're both in the same place at the same time, and you're shocked or offended or what? What is the problem? What is the problem? Because I would love to meet an African individual from any country on that continent and just speak genuinely. And I want to learn about you and your culture. And I could probably tell you and teach you a few things about me and my own culture within myself, because I don't follow a culture. I don't do that. Coming from America, there is no culture that I can follow. It's a cult. I can't speak about other countries. I can only speak about where I come from. But it's a fucking cult. And if you don't follow these hidden rules or so-called rules, when you're a part of a culture in America, you get crucified. Like, who the fuck are you? You can't even be an individual. I digress. So maybe that's the problem. Like, I don't follow culture. I've come up with my own way of living, my own rules, and I follow my own rules, and I got self-discipline and self-respect, all the while living through that type of adversity and shit. Maybe that's intimidating. Maybe that's what's going on. So yeah, it's a bit challenging meeting my own people here. Now, I don't mind socializing with people outside of my race. However, I've experienced that comparison behavior. It's like, that's a culture too. You know, they start comparing, even though there's no comparison. Plain and simple. You take the joy away from your own life and your own self when you start to compare. Or even when I tell other foreigners or even the nationals here, like, oh, I'm from America, I'm from the US, I'm from New York, you know, like there's like, I'm repelled, or there's a repellent. It's crazy. I don't know. I don't know. I know that a lot of people want to go to the US that have not been to the US. Not only do they want to go and visit, but they would love to live. And I mean, I'm not against it. It's just not for me anymore, you know? And yeah. So what can I say? All right, I've talked for almost an hour. Thank you for listening. If you tapped into my channel, if you watched this video, it's all love. It's all love. I appreciate it. And I'm gonna check out the deuces.